capabilities back home. So we have, I mean, besides the mandate of internationalization, building capabilities, we also are tasked with developing Singapore as a startup and trade hub. So what I'll do now is I'll just give you a quick background on Egypt, and then go into the sectors of opportunity that we see our companies addressing, or potentially have the capability to address. So Egypt is a large country with large cities, hence urban planning, infrastructure solutions are important. So if you look at it, Cairo itself, the population is 22 million people. So our Greater Cairo itself is 22 million people population. So it's a big country. Nevertheless, the population is young, which gives it a good positive. I mean, gives a good impact on availability and quality of talent. The GDP per capita is not high, but there's also a large middle class. So, about 30% of the population is actually quite well-to-do, so they have the ability to spend. And Egypt is also a very mature, industrialized country. So the industrial base is very strong, is very mature, and it trades quite a bit with the advanced economies in the West. Now, going to the role of Egypt in the Middle East and African region. So Egypt has historically always had considerable political, economic, and social influence in the Middle East and Africa. So this has allowed the country to lead in interregional cooperation. So, for example, in energy, it was one of the main proponents of the East Mediterranean Gas Forum. So this platform actually is what is behind how now Israeli gas is being supplied to Egypt to be liquefied and then exported to Europe. So such platforms, Egypt is actually one of the leaders in this regard. The Egyptian economy was on track to perform strongly, right through COVID. But in the past 18 months or so, it has faced headwinds. So there's high inflation, there's foreign currency shortage. I mean, but these generally, when I speak to the business community in Egypt, they see this as short-term challenges. So Egypt has always been a country where challenges happen, and then the business community or the business sector bounces back. So long term long term, we always view positively the growth trajectory of Egypt. Aggressive action is being taken to stabilize the economy, including the privatization of state assets and companies, getting financial aid from the IMF, increasing exports, attracting FDI. So, we as I say, we are looking very positively in terms of the long-term potential and growth of Egypt. So I'll just move on to the sectors of opportunity. Egypt has always had a highly diverse and mature industrial economy, as I mentioned, but we see, the greatest potential in 4 sectors. In the first one, transport and logistics. Egypt lies in the middle of 3 continents and has excellent connectivity due to its physical and trade links. In the past 10 years, the road network has vastly expanded. So it now connects all the cities of Greater Cairo with large freeways. And we also have seen that Egypt has the aspiration to be an air hub, particularly supporting air cargo linkage between Africa and the rest of the world. There are 27 international and national airports, including 2 new ones serving Cairo itself. Surprisingly, the tourist arrivals in Egypt is actually only 15 million people. If you compare that, in Singapore has 19 million at its peak. So there's actually a very large, room for growth in tourism, in transport, supporting that tourism as well. And of course, being, a large country, one of the mega projects for the country, the national mega project, is actually the high-speed rail and monorail, which eventually will move 30 million people annually. The first phase is being constructed at this moment. It's 660 kilometers. It's led by Siemens Consortium. Will be operated by Deutsche Bahn and also ready. So this one will be ready by the end of 2024. Egypt is also part, it's along the major shipping routes. Everyone knows the Suez Canal. It's home to 15 commercial seaports. But I think what we should also know is that beyond the seaports, there's also a lot of there are plans actually to establish dry ports as well within the country. And of course, beyond the actual operating of ports, there are also opportunities in things like clean bunker fuels, methanol, port digitalization. So there's room actually for small companies to play a role in the transport and logistics sector in Egypt. Going on to manufacturing, as mentioned, Egypt is well connected geographically and through trade agreements. We have, uh, business cost is low. For example, energy, land, labor is very favorable, to companies that are intending to set up manufacturing. Singapore also has since 2002, a bilateral investment treaty, which amongst others, guarantees protection from seizure of property, freedom to transfer capital, and so on and so forth. There's also strong interest from Egyptian corporates, the large corporates, to partner foreign companies, particularly on the strategic sectors, such as PV, auto, EV manufacturing. And I put something on the Suez Canal zone here. So it's actually a special economic zone, which was formed in 2015 by presidential decree. So it allows companies to easily set up and invest in a country. Essentially shortcutting, a lot of the procedures that would normally have to be taken if you were to establish a company, on the so-called mainland, right? So this is something that Suez Canal Zone is actually ideal for. And going down to the energy sector, so Egypt has significant hydrocarbon and clean energy resources. Hydrocarbon production is actually the single largest industrial activity in Egypt and contributes over 13% of GDP. That's in 2018. Oil and gas production meets about 75% of domestic consumption, but essentially Egypt is still dependent on imported gasoline. So at the moment, there are about $2.1 billion in oil and gas exploration projects, sanctioned up to 2025. And there's a plan to raise the production up by 11% to 650,000 barrels a day. So there's essentially a lot of plans and investment being earmarked for oil and gas exploration. And the thing is, Egyptian oil and gas companies are also regional. So the Egyptian oil and gas companies, and their foreign partners are also major players in neighboring Libya's oil industry. So where the refinery capacity is actually 600,000 barrels per day currently, but there are plans to bring it up to 800,000 barrels per day by the end of the year, and 3.3 million barrels per day in 2026. So I mean, Libya, has its own issues, but Egypt is actually just beside, and it's a neighboring country, so they do know the region very well, and they are able to participate. Just to mention also about the Sumet pipeline. So this pipeline runs from the Red Sea, Ain Sokhna to Alexandria in the Mediterranean. There are plans to extend this pipeline as well to Yanbu in Saudi Arabia. So the connectivity, the physical connectivity, bringing energy, from the Saudi oil fields down to Egypt, and then to be exported out, to the rest of the world, actually there. Gas fields are essentially, mainly in the Mediterranean, the offshore gas fields. Again, the same story. I mean, they are intending to expand this, the number of gas fields. There's plans for more exploration, more production as well. And the thing to note, Egypt's LNG infrastructure is actually very important. I mean, earlier I mentioned about the Eastern Mediterranean Alliance, right? So Egypt has actually two LNG, or liquefied natural gas processing plants. And countries like Israel depend highly on these plants to liquefy their gas and then export it to the rest of the world, like Europe. Beyond, I would say, the hydrocarbons, clean energy is as well, a very important sector which is growing very strongly in Egypt. The country launched its national hydrogen plan in 2022, which amongst others, includes a plan to actually capture 5% of the global hydrogen supply market by 2040. And in fact, green hydrogen is already being produced in Egypt. This is by a company called Scatec, an Norwegian company. So as I mentioned earlier, the population of Egypt is huge, but it's also growing very fast. So estimated at almost 2 million a year. And to accommodate the entire population, I mean, there is a need for housing, there's a need for water, energy, waste management, and transport. So, for example, there is a $24 billion nationwide urban housing project for mass housing. But there's also a very high demand for private or high-end housing outside central Cairo. For example, cities like New Cairo, 6 October. These are smaller cities which are surrounding the traditional central Cairo, and it's very desirable. I mean, people want to stay here, they want to live here, they want to work there. This has attracted a lot of interest from Gulf developers as well, to establish projects or to partner with Egyptian companies to build homes, to build offices, retail. Moving on to water. Water is, despite having the Nile, I mean, water has always been an existential issue for Egypt. There's a plan to establish up to 9 million cubic meters per day of capacity by 2050. So the government has actually shortlisted 17 consortiums to participate or to tender for desalination projects. And I think to note as well that the government has specified that the projects the desalination plants have to be powered by renewable energy. So there's a strong focus on not just sustainability, but also how can you incorporate sustainability into the infrastructure projects that Egypt needs at the moment. And last of all, I would say second to last, the Cairo monorail is going to be the longest driverless monorail system in the world. So it will connect Greater Egypt to the new capital. So Egypt is shifting its administrative offices to a new capital just outside Cairo. There are also plans to extend the metro line. All these, there's a greater emphasis on improving public transport, reducing the reliance on cars, reducing the reliance on roads to move this huge population around Cairo. And last of all, there are 8 waste to energy projects worth about 10 million Egyptian pounds in the pipeline. These are to be awarded very soon. I mean, the first one has just been awarded this year. So projects are moving ahead. This is something that the government cannot afford to wait. The population is growing. The population needs this infrastructure, and all these things have to come online as soon as possible. So of course, besides the four sectors which I mentioned, of course, ICT is very important. But I'll let our colleagues from the IT Industrial Development Agency of Egypt explain a bit more. Just a note as well, we are having the Africa-Singapore Business Forum at the end of the month. You're welcome to join. If you can, just please scan the QR code and sign up. We'll be happy to hear your questions later, but I'll now hand over to my colleagues from ITIDA to go on to the next section. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Yazid. Thank you. We would now like to invite our next speaker, Ms. Sherihan, Head of Business Development from ITIDA, to share with us the opportunities in Egypt ICT sector and the support provided by ITIDA. Ms. Sherihan, please.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Sherihan Al-Hawari. I'm heading the International Business Development Department at ITIDA. Let me give you a quick overview on the ICT market first, and then we'll go through the presentation. The ICT market in Egypt is the fastest sector by 16.3% growth rate. So it's a very prominent sector for the time being. Can you see my presentation?
Yes, we can.
Okay. ITIDA is Information Technology Industry Development Agency in Egypt. It has been established in 2004 as an affiliate to MCIT, the Ministry of Communication and Information Technology. Our board, or the chairman of our board, is His Excellency the Minister of ICT, and 50% of our board members are coming from private sector. So we believe that we have the private sector spirit. ITIDA's main mandate has 5 main mandates. First is supporting the Egyptian companies in business development activities through tailored programs. Also supporting the innovation and entrepreneurship. And we have created a center established for that main reason in 2010, providing consultancy, incubation, and shared spaces for startups and entrepreneurs. One of our main focus is the capacity building as well. Through our relationship with the universities and training providers, we develop programs to upgrade the talent pool skills according to the newest technology and according to the industry demand. Another pillar is the international marketing and foreign investment support, where we coordinate with international allies and consultancy firms to showcase Egypt value proposition and support the MNC establishment and expansion plan in offshoring activities in Egypt. We provide technical support, RFI, respond to RFI, facilitate any changes that might face the company. Also, we have another pillar which is the intellectual property and e-commerce industry, and we have 2 centers established for these 2 prospects, the IPR and the e-signature centers. Let me shed some light on Egypt as an outsourcing destination. A global firm such as Gartner has ranked Egypt as a top primary location for 2 consecutive years in EMEA region for global delivery of ITS and BPS. Also, GSA, Global Semiconductor Alliance, has opened a new chapter in 2023 in Egypt. As per Kearney in 2021, Egypt has ranked top 15 global service location in first and becoming the first in Middle East and Africa. The analysis has included the financial attractiveness, the availability of talent pool, and the business environment as well. As Yazid said, that throughout our past 3 years, the economic reforms implementation in coordination with the IMF has its positive impact on Egypt's ranking. For example, Egypt has jumped 38 places in the index of safest countries to become number 65. And to put things into perspective, USA is number 71. According to Roland Berger, Egypt has improved and become in the top 10, number 3 in the top 10 improved countries after Vietnam and Myanmar. Further to Startup Journal has ranked Egypt as top 15 location for affordable talents. Another ranking, which is Government Technology GovTech Maturity Index, we have progressed 42 places. And finally, as a measure for the internet infrastructure, OLCA has positioned or ranked Egypt as the first in the African countries for fixed broadband internet speed. This is an overview of Egypt as an outsourcing destination. At the second, I'm gonna give you a brief about the value proposition of Egypt. The first thing is for sure the abundance of talent pool. As also mentioned, the population are 104 million Inca in Egypt. However, we considered a young population as 75% are under age of 40. And 49% out of the population are females, which will reflect in the female employment rate in the ICT sector. For the number of graduates per year, we have more than 500,000 of graduates from different universities and education institutes. And 37% out of them come from STEM graduates, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. 80% of the working population speaks foreign languages, English, French, German, and some rare languages as well. Out of the graduates, we have almost 150,000 finance and accounting, and 25,000 language graduates annually. And the Egyptian dialect is considered the most widely spoken in the Middle East. For the technical part or the ITS part, we have over 45,000 annual graduates coming from database design and management, data network, software development and analysis, and more than 40,000 annual graduates for electronic and computer engineering. Coming with the huge or the big number of graduates, MCIT, the Ministry of Communication and Information Technology, is keen to qualify human calibers specialized in technology in all the ICT sciences. And this is achieved through technical training strategy implemented according to a hierarchical steps or levels, covering the basic digital skills up to the master's degree, with a total investment of 1.1 billion EGP to train more than 200,000 graduates by end of 2023. And just to highlight that this, the budget has increased about 22 times, and the number of trainees has doubled, has becoming 50 times the number compared to the previous 3 years. That's how the MCIT and ITIDA see development of the calibers is essential. MCIT has different arms such as ITI, NTI, and ITIDA, one of them. And we have different, I'm gonna just shed some light on them, some of the training or the development programs provided. One of them is the program for Egypt Forward, and the number of, I'm not gonna go through the technical information about the program, just to highlight the numbers and the technologies that has been used for training. We have graduated more than 140,000 trainees on different technologies such as cloud technology, DevOps, web development, and as you can see, the different segments. Another training institute, which is ITI, it's an affiliate to MCIT, and we have graduated through professional training more than 5,000 graduates on also special training such as software development, testing, infrastructure and network, embedded systems, covering a lot of the new technologies such as the IoT and the embedded system for automotive as well. Another program is co-funding the training for hiring, as we serve two main pillars: the training and development of the capacity of the talent pool, also encouraging the employment of these graduates in the MNCs. Targeting the master degrees, we also have, in collaboration with EUI, University of Informatics, the first one in Middle East and Africa, specialized in the IT studies. We have, in collaboration with international universities such as Queen's, University of Queens, University of Ottawa, and University of Cork, University of Malaysia, we have graduated almost more than 200 graduates on new technologies such as cybersecurity and AI, data analytics, and digital art. This is a sample of how we are keen on the development of the IT talent. Coming to the cost competitiveness of Egypt, Egypt considered as a financial attractiveness of Egypt as per EY study conducted in 2021, that Egypt is 60% cost saving on the compensation and benefit versus Eastern European companies, and as well as North African countries such as Hungary, Poland, South Africa, Morocco, Philippines, and Turkey. And let me just comment that this study has been conducted before several devaluation occurred in 2023. So I bet this we have been improved or have been more cost competitive during 2023. For the pivotal location, of course, Egypt has a pivotal location between as the proximity of to the European countries, being or having like 5-hour flight radius between Cairo and most of the European cities. Also, when it comes to the serving the US market, we have follow the sun business continuity plan to grant this to have the benefit of this serving the US market. Also, we have more than 13 telecom routes. I believe now there are 14 telecom routes passing through Egypt, connecting more than 60 plus countries. We have 4 landing points, 2 in the Mediterranean and 2 on Red Sea. Also, we have been blessed by the diversity of culture. For more than 5,000 years we have of heritage. We have cultural affinity to the Western world, and also being a touristic destination has give Egypt an edge in that part. And having a lot of international schools, one of them is Japanese, German, American, being or targeting to the cultural affinity between different Eastern world or Western world. Regarding the developed IT industry, Egypt has been the home for more than 400 offshoring players. We have, for example, we're targeting the 3 segments: the ITS, the PPS, and the ER&D. Please have a minute to check all the logos that we have. For example, in the BPS sector, we have the top 5 or top 5 players in the BPS: WebHelp, Teleperformance, Citel, Concentrix. And the ITS, we have IBM, we have DXC, we have RSA, Dell, VMware. And of course, for the ER&D, we have several players, among them the Valeo, the big name in the automotive ER&D sector. And as an example of that, in November 2022, we have celebrated signing 29 agreements with multinational companies, and 8 out of the 29 is new entrants to the country, such as Atos. Capgemini has established a big center serving the different segments, BPS, ITS, and R&D, with a very ambitious expansion plan. And also the rest are expanding and trusting the Egyptian economy and the Egyptian ICT market. Just as a highlight, 16 out of these companies are US based, and 9 European, and 4 from Asia, such as Tech Mahindra, for example. Let me skim through the presentation through the success stories that the companies already have achieved in the Egyptian market. First of all, IBM. IBM has been in Egypt since 1954 as a regional, having several centers operating from Egypt, providing services globally. Another success story, which is Dell. Dell Technologies has started from 14 employees. Now they are more than 1,500 employees. They have expanded in terms of numbers, and also adding new higher value added services, such as the R&D, research and development, as I mentioned before. And also, I'm very proud that 48% of the employees are females, which reflects the number of the females percentage in the IT in the population, as I mentioned before. Another success story, Bright Skies. Bright Skies has been established in Egypt in 2016, and now there are 400 employees targeting the R&D sector or segment. Also, Valeo is a French company specialized in the embedded software and development in the auto parking system for the automotive industry. They have clients of very well-known names. Actually, the Valeo's headquarters has favored Egypt over other destinations and considered and having the main research and development center of Valeo is in Egypt with a capacity of more than 3,000 employees for the time being. Regarding the government support that we can provide for the company's establishment process in Egypt for the IT, we have pre-establishment services and during establishment and after establishment. First one is before taking the decision, we're providing information, responding to RFI, arrange for due diligences that might help the company to have a hands-on experience or a first-hand-on experience on the big players or the players in the industry, and listen to the opportunities and the challenges that they have and how they capitalize on it and how they overcome it. Once the company has, and also we help in providing the information to develop the business plan for the establishment. Once the company has decided on the starting the business, we provide the support during by providing legal advisory for firm and real estate advisors as well to propose and to cater for different requirements for each investor. Once the firm has been established, we can offer support in the capacity talent programs that ITIDA provide, as well as the providing recruitment firms, recommendation for recruitment firms to find the right caliber. Also, we can cooperate with the company to tailor special programs for the capacity building part to maximize the benefit of the large talent pool that is within Egypt. One of the main key points is having a dedicated account manager once the company has been in relation with ITIDA to be able to help the company as an active focal point between the company and any governmental agencies, facilitate and support the companies in any of the requirements, provide, for example, one of the service that for the clients, we can offer a due diligence or due diligence, as I said before, with the big players and also for their clients, not only for them, for their clients, and having and meeting the highest government officials. This would be a nutshell what support and aftercare system that we can provide, and an overview on the ICT market in general. Thank you. If you have any questions.
Hi, thank you, Ms. Sherihan, for the very comprehensive presentation. Perhaps now we do have some questions, which is in our Q&A tab. If I could just bring out two of these questions. The first one being, what is the real technology adoption appetite in Egypt by private and public sector? And what sectors of ICT adoption are higher on the priority?
I believe that we consider the three segments are the same priority: the ITS, the BPS, the ER&D. We consider the three segments on the same priority. We do not prefer one over another. We provide support for the three segments within the ICT sector for sure.
Thank you so much. Yazid, I think you wanted to add on to this question as well.
Yeah, so I think we do see that there is a lot of desire, from the public as well as private sector to incorporate the latest technologies, especially digital technologies. Just take as an example, on the logistics sector, it's very vibrant. I mean, if you can think of what we have in Singapore in terms of things like Grab, the various Ninja Van and so on and so forth. I mean, it's I would say maybe 2-3 times as more vibrant in terms of the kind of solutions and the kind of the volume of the players which are there in Egypt. I mean, Cairo is a large city, as I mentioned. It's very challenging to ensure that whenever you place an order via e-commerce, that the order reaches you in the right place. So the kind of startups that we see, which have are supporting this, either as directly as a direct consumer logistics service, or maybe they are providing a service for the logistics players, to enable the delivery vehicles to reach to match between the seller and the buyer. We see a lot of these innovations happening in Egypt. They are very much localized. They are very much suited for the environment. But the amount of creativity and the amount of technology development that goes into these solutions and to be able to be applied into a very challenging environment is quite impressive. I mean, honestly, I've seen some of these startups and companies, and some of them I know we've introduced to Singapore as well. I mean, there's some discussion in terms of how they can adapt these back into our environment in Singapore, or maybe just for an investment opportunity. So that's on the private sector. But even for the public sector, take for example the port systems, the government, the Ministry of Transport, they are also looking at how they can incorporate things like single windows, maritime single windows, into the port system. So again, there is a need and a desire to put in technology into traditional industries. So that's what we see. So that's really much the opportunities that I would say Egypt is really expanding or growing its infrastructure. It's modernizing its infrastructure. With that, of course, comes a large digital component. Yeah.
If I may add on this part, that's true that the digitalization and the digital transformation that the MCIT is conducting with different ministries across the country to adopt the new technologies, or the real technologies, that the new technologies that to facilitate more services to the population. So I believe there's a huge appetite for that.
Thank you. Then we'll move on to the next question. This one is by Mr. Peter Ma from Vicky. Specifically, what are the cybersecurity opportunities in Egypt, and where are these opportunities?
Okay. We have within ITIDA, there's a certain center for the e-signature part and the cybersecurity. I can put him in contact with one of them to know more about this opportunities.
Thank you. And I think there's part 2 of the question would then be, how is the adoption of fintech and digital payments in Egypt?
We're working on that in collaboration with the different affiliates to adopt this new technologies in the financial sector as well. Applying the fintech technologies and adopting new technologies in that part.
Yeah, if I can add to this, so there's a large, I mean, no doubt, I mean, the Egyptian population, I mean, a large percentage of it, remains unbanked. So things like KYC, credit scoring, these are actually technologies which are in demand right now. So the large banks, Central Bank of Egypt, they are looking at these technologies to directly, to enable, the greater onboarding of customers or the population, right, to be banked. But that's one approach. But the other way actually is, the large banks like, for example, Bank Misr, right, which is like one of the largest banks, is I think the second largest bank in Egypt. They are also, working through fintechs, right, through startups. So what they do is, they may invest in a fintech which provides services that are very much catered towards the unbanked, right? So this enables, the fintech itself and is able to onboard multiple or large volumes of, customers which come unbanked, provide them with very basic banking services. But in the process, they are brought on board to the digital banking space. They are given, some very basic banking facilities, which also ultimately meets the goal, like the national goal of, increasing or decreasing the unbanked population of Egypt. So it works various ways. But again, I think the core point here is that, technology is very important, both for the established banking industry as well as the fintechs. I hope that sort of answers the question. But I know, Peter, I'll be very happy to have a further conversation with you after this.
Right, thank you. We do have quite a few questions. If I could just, we might not be able to answer all the questions right now, but rest assured, we will get our speakers to have them answered and then at least send back as an email at the end of the day. But if we could just pick out some of these questions. I think earlier on there was a question on funding support for training programs. So wanted to understand in terms of the funding, what are some of these support, and then if foreign companies can also be an approved training provider.
The first part regarding the foreign companies to be an approved training provider, for sure. It can be easily establish your space in Egypt and provide such training to the locals, or to train so provide the training as an expert. So sure, foreign companies can be approved as a training provider. For the second part of the question, can you please say it again?
Is there any funding support for foreign coming in as a training?
As I've mentioned during the presentation, for example, one of the co-funding program is either on technical trainings or on languages training. The company can commit on hiring, for example, 100 employees and train them on any type of training, and ITIDA can subsidize or fund such trainings if the company has achieved the required hiring plan. So this is one of the programs that provide a fund for training. And the other programs that I have mentioned, it's totally free of charge. This is how we tackle the talent pool development. So you can avail the right talent to the companies in general, to IT market in general. I hope this answers the question.
Yep, thank you so much. I think we still have time for a few more questions. The next one would actually be, okay, in terms of digitalization of payment, would it be possible to share what are some of the government's support or innovations in Egypt right now?
For the fintech, for digital payment?
Yes, digitalization of payment.
I can take this. I can send you slides regarding this part after we finish the webinar.
Understand. Sure. But in terms of some of these innovations in fintech or even the digitalization of payment, would you be able to share what is the rate or how is Egypt compared to the region? That is one. And in terms of the mobile penetration right now in Egypt, what is the rate? Just an estimation.
So I think the mobile penetration is quite high. I think it's over 90%. I mean, this is similar to a lot of countries I think we see in Africa as well. I mean, the smartphone is actually very key to daily life. It's actually getting your daily services, right? So mobile penetration is high. There's if you want to get around, you just order an Uber in Cairo. The Uber will find you. So there's very much, and e-commerce is very much well established. People use it very often. I think the unique thing about Egypt, is just how they have sort of integrated, the brick and mortar, the traditional, infrastructure, with the digital, right? So as I mentioned earlier, in terms of things like logistics, right? How do they actually solve very complex or very difficult logistics solutions or logistics challenges? Using very localized apps, right? Developed for the Egyptian kind of situation or landscape. So that's I think I would say something which is very unique about Egypt. But it also says a lot in terms of the quality of the talent and the software developers, the engineers which are from Egypt.
As you've said, the mobile penetration is almost 94% of the total population. And also would like to highlight that more than 80 million internet users in Egypt has started in 2023 with internet penetration more than 73% as well.
Got it. Thank you so much. So for our attendees today, thank you so much for your time. If you do have any further questions, you can drop us an email. In the EDM, you would have Mr. Yazid and my email address. Feel free to drop us any of your inquiries. We'll be happy to do the link up with our ITIDA partners, as well as to help with any of your inquiries. I would say that we have reached the end of our webinar today, and we thank you so much for your time. Thank you, our speakers, for sharing in great detail. So yes, we hope to hear from you. This is just a start. So do let us know if there's anything we could assist you in, and happy to come in to help. Sorry, any last words?
Thank you so much for today, and hope the information is beneficial for the attendees. And please feel free to send me or to drop me an email for all the required questions.
We'll definitely do so. Thank you everyone for your time, and we wish you a good rest of the day.
Thank you.
Thank you.